Hello everyone, this is Tetrafolium, and we have some very spooky music for a very spooky Pokemon. This is Marowak, who I say is more than just a Speed Pass recipient in ADV. Um, as many of you know, Marowak is very commonly used with another Pokemon called Ninjask, and I absolutely hate that Pokemon, so I will not be using it. Um, so I might talk about it a little bit though, to kind of explain what Marowak's most popular team style is like. But no, I hate that thing, so I'm not using it. Let's start with the viability rankings. So, uh, obviously, Marowak is not an OU staple Pokemon. It's not going to be in the top D through S ranks. So let's see if it's an E, and it is. It's just under Mischievous at 42. Um, Pretty solid. I mean, higher than Blaziken, higher than Armaldo, Umbreon, Pokemon we've talked about before. Not quite to the same level as Porygon 2 and Venusaur, so let's see if that holds appropriate here. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is items. So we may have talked about items a little bit before in previous videos, particularly with knockoff, but I want to reiterate the sort of pool of items that you'll see in Gen 3. So the most commonly used item is Leftovers, and that's in no small part due to Permanent Sandstorm from Tyranitar. But also, Leftovers is just the best for longevity. You get the most value out of them in the long term because you get 1/16 of your HP back every turn. And lots of Pokemon really appreciate having that. Pokemon that are on the precipice of 2-hit KO thresholds. Pokemon that are fat and like to stay around for a lot of the game. Pokemon that want to heal off their spikes damage. So even if Sandstorm's not up, Leftovers would probably still be the dominant item. Some other items you will see are Lumberry and Choice Band. Uh, Both of them are offensively oriented in nature. Lumberry is particularly for Pokemon that are trying to set up and they do not want to be stopped by a Thunder Wave or a Will-O-Wisp or even a Toxic. But Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp definitely. Um, Choice Band is for Pokemon that have really good attack stats and want to bolster that, and they don't mind locking into a particular move for the sake of getting a +1 attack boost, essentially, for their entire lifespan. So that's pretty good. To a lesser extent, you'll see some stat boosting berries like Salak, which boosts speed, Lychee, which boosts attack, Pataya for special attack. The other ones, not so much. But that's kind of the long and the short of items in ADV. But there's another class of items that I want to talk about. And that would be Pokemon specific items. So some Pokemon have items that grant specific effects only when held by that Pokemon. There's a group of them that I would say are practically useless. Chansey has the Lucky Punch, which raises its critical hit ratio. Um, Chansey, for one, is already like a borderline unusable Pokemon. It is in the BL tier, which is not an official tier. I mean, it could get play in BL when that is another metagame or there are tournaments going on for it, and I think it's decent there, but uh, yeah, it's not getting used in the OU tier because Blissey is, I mean, it's just better. And as for this Lucky Punch, like critical hit ratio, Chansey is not thriving off of critical hits. Like, yeah, if it gets a crit, that's awesome, but you would much, much rather have Leftovers to live extra turns and to not have to spend so many turns clicking Soft Boiled to stay healthy. The Metal Powder is for Ditto. It doubles Ditto's defense, but only when it's not transformed. Has a really tough go of it this generation because it does not have the ability Imposter like it does in future generations. Um, so you are stuck having to click Raw Transform, and with Ditto's base 84s across the board, it is very likely to just get one shot for the straight sin of trying to come in. I could see a niche for Ditto, in fact, if you could have the metal powder while you are transformed, Ditto could come in and transform into Blissey, and then you have a double defense Blissey on your side of the field. Now, granted, Ditto keeps its HP stat when it transforms, so you would also have a 48 base HP Blissey. So maybe that doesn't even track. Like, it's not... that doesn't work. But a guy can dream, right? No, that would still be terrible. And then we have the stick. I think that the stick has been renamed to the leak in future generations, but I'm an old head, so I'm gonna continue to call it the stick. It's for Farfetch'd, raises its critical hit ratio. Frankly, it's actually not that bad for Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd would like to get critical hits because that's basically the only way it's going to deal any damage, but Farfetch'd is such a bad Pokemon that I feel like this warrant's practically unusable. And then we have another class that I would call usable. The Light Ball for Pikachu doubles its special attack. Pikachu having the same speed stat, sorry about that, as Moltres, means that it actually is pretty fast. I believe in this generation it still gets Surf, so the electric water coverage on a Pokemon that fast is pretty nice, and then when you double Pikachu's special attack stat, it's frankly like a pretty hard-hitting Pokemon. So it can kind of act as a special wall breaker in a sense. Now, Pikachu's got horrendous defense stats, and while it's pretty fast, it's not super fast. It's still going to get outsped by most of the base 100s. I guess you could run a plus speed nature to outspeed the neutral natured base 100s, but yeah, no, there's definitely a niche for Pikachu in OU. And then Clamperl, with the Deep Sea Tooth, you will double special attack. With the Deep Sea Scale, you'll double special defense. Both of these have seen use before. The trivia I have for you is that with the Deep Sea Tooth, Clamperl technically has the highest special attack stat in the entire game. So that's kind of interesting. It could make it really difficult to switch into Hydro Pump or Ice Beam with that, but Clamperl also has really, really low HP and speed, so I don't see much use for Clamperl. You could try to bolster that with the Spadef boosting item, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe with like Clamp and Toxic, you might be able to handle a passive Pokemon. Excuse me, just woke up. But the Pokemon we're here to talk about is Marowak, who doubles its attack stat with the Thick Club. What are the implications of doubling your attack stat? Well, I'm so glad you asked. If you remember from my Medicham video, we talked about Pure Power, the ability that doubles Medicham's attack stat. And note that it doesn't double your base attack stat, it doubles your literal attack stat with the EVs and nature calced in. So we end up with a Medicham who, with an adamant nature, is stronger than Slacking. With a non-adamant nature, is stronger than an adamant Metagross, as well as many other Pokemon. But now we have to look at how Marowak factors in. So Marowak has a base 80 attack stat, which is not great, but it's usable. I mean, there are plenty of Pokemon with 80 base attack or special attack that see use with offensive moves in this generation. Take, for example, Blissey, who has the base 75 special attack stat, still sometimes a Calm Minesweeper. So these are okay, but with the Thick Club, we will double these, and we'll be at 568 with an adamant nature. Even Medicham is shocked by that. That is insane. There's some Pokemon that will not hit that with a +1, and even some who won't hit it with a +2. So that's really awesome. But Marowak, despite its really high attack with the thick club, its barrier to sweeping is that it's too slow. So let's look at its base stats here. Across the board, it's actually not that bad. The 80 attack is not great, but when you factor in the thick club, then you can just ignore that. It's phenomenal. 110 defense and 80 spadef is actually pretty good. That's almost like Swampert levels of defense. Uh, Although we only have 60 HP, which is not great. Um, Honestly, Marowak might almost be better if you swapped its HP and attack stats. I know that's kind of controversial as a take there, but you would have Metacham's attack stat with the thick club, and you would have even more HP to live extra hits. So that could be kind of nice, but we have to play that with the hand that we're dealt, and the worst card in our hand is our speed stat. 45 is really, really bad. um, let's take a look at what investment you would need to outspeed some common sets. So against Blissey, who is almost never running any speed, unless it's Sing Blissey with mono seismic toss, then you might see a speedy Blissey, but we're not gonna worry about the speedy Blissey because I mean we can't outspeed a max speed Blissey anyway. Um, we need 88 speed EVs just to outspeed Utility and Calm Mind, which is running like maybe 4 speed EVs total. Um, so that's pretty significant, to be honest. For Swampert, we need 60 to outspeed the standard defensive Swampert, which I believe is running a minus speed nature. 136 to get past the Surf defensive Swampert, and 204 with a plus nature to get past this standard offensive Swampert, who, I'll be honest, I don't know what the standard offensive Swampert is trying to speed creep. I think that is even a bit too slow. I would go to a 204 raw speed nature just to outspeed the bulky DD Tyranitar. In which case, if we're Marowak trying to outspeed that, we need to be almost max speed. Speaking of Tyranitar, we need 128 to get past the bulky physical attacker, 136 to get past Pursuit Tar, and 240 with a plus nature to get past bulky DD. And any Tyranitar that's faster than that, Marowak is unable to outspeed. Bulky or against Metagross, we need 200 to get past the bulky attacker, which would also get us past Skarmory, or most Skarmory. Well, the standard Skarmory set that runs no speed. Sometimes Skarmory is trying to speed creep itself, and you'll see tons of different variations on Skarmory's speed stat because they're just trying to speed creep each other so they can get their taunt off faster than the opposing Skarm can. We also have the ability to get past Agility Metagross by going 220 with a plus nature. This would also get us past Milotic, who runs 0 speed. Milotic sometimes might run a little bit of extra speed, maybe like 4 or 8 speed to speed creep this Agility Metagross. Or the other Pokemon that are trying to speed creep Milotic, in which case we'd have to invest a little bit higher with our Marowak to get there. With Claydol, if we have 252 speed, like max speed Adamant, basically, or 148 with a plus nature, we would get faster than the utility Claydol, which is maybe something that is worth noting. If we run HP Bug and we pick an HP Bug that gives us max speed IVs, then we could outspeed Claydol and nail it with an HP Bug. We could also run HP Ghost. I don't recall what HP Ghost does to your IVs, so I don't know if you can run HP Ghost with max speed IVs. If you can't, then maybe you're kind of SOL with that idea. But a double edge should do a lot of damage as well, so that's not so bad. Anything that's faster than base 85, which would be Heracross and Suicune, is always faster than Marowak, I guess unless it runs a minus speed nature. But in any case, oh, okay, we got Pokemon Mansion coming up. You know what? Let's play it. Pokemon Mansion's a cool theme. Um, yeah, anything that's faster than those two will always be faster than Marowak unless they have a minus speed nature. And in fact, Heracross and Suicune almost always runs some amount of speed. Suicune maybe back in the day used to run like max HP, max defense, but the thing is, a lot of Pokemon have now picked their speed stat because of Marowak. Suicune is one of them, it goes up to 210 usually, which will outspeed a max speed Marowak. Metagross with the Choice Band goes to 208, which is exactly 1 point faster than max speed Marowak. And I cannot imagine that that's coincidence. So yeah, Marowak and its speed is kind of a big problem. So let's talk about Baton Pass, which is one of the things that is going to help us with Marowak if we choose to use it. So in Gen 3, it's very strange. Not very many generations allow for this. I think Gen 2 also has Baton Pass allowed in some form or fashion. And maybe Gen 4, but I think it's literally only like dry passing, meaning no substitutes, no speed, I mean, no stat boost, no nothing. But Gen 3 allows for one Pokemon per team to have a Baton Pass and a stat boosting move. Trapping moves like Mean Look plus Baton Pass are not allowed. They used to be, but they're not anymore. And any stat or substitute can be passed, including speed. So let's take a look at some of the common passers. These are not the only Pokemon, but these are some of the Pokemon that will run it more frequently than others. Celebi is one. It tends to pass Swords Dance or Calm Mind. Zapdos is another who tends to pass Agility. And then there's Ninjask, who can pass Swords Dance and Speed Boost. Speed Boost is its ability. It gives it +1 speed per turn. And I hate Ninjask. So that's important to note as well. Let's talk about Ninjask and Marowak together. This is the marriage made in hell. This is the bane of many a low ladder player's existence. Ninjask is a very common partner to Marowak thanks to how relatively consistent it is at baton passing. I can never get through a single sentence without flubbing it. Ninjask and Baton Pass strategies in general are susceptible to phasing. So I see a lot of people, when they talk about phasing, they're spelling it wrong. They're spelling it with an S instead of a Z. The word phase, as used in Pokemon, it's a shorthand for pseudo haze. Haze is a move that it still exists in this generation. I mean, and it certainly exists into future generations. It resets all stat boosts on the field. So you would use Haze to stop a Pokemon that is setting up from getting any of its stat changes up. So phasing moves, which are moves that force the opponent to switch, they're considered pseudo haze because they have the same type of effect where they eliminate all the stat changes because they force the opponent to switch out. In this generation, that primarily takes the form of Roar and Whirlwind. In future generations, there are things like Dragon Tail and Circle Throw and maybe a handful of other moves. They're generally all minus priority, like -6 priority, so they are almost never going to act first. There are some exceptions, like for example in this generation, I believe you are allowed to sleep talk a Roar or a Whirlwind, so you can, in essence, get a fast Roar with like Suicune, for example, or Zapdos. But Ninjask, if it can find a turn to Speed Pass and passive substitute to Marowak, then Marowak can Swords Dance, and there are very few Pokemon that can overcome a +2 attack with extra speed Marowak. Like, if Marowak outspeeds you and has +2, it's gonna kill pretty much every Pokemon in the format. There are a few Pokemon that can live a hit. I believe Skarm can sometimes live Rock Slide. But you also have flinch chance to just get completely owned. Ninjask will commonly run Sand Attack to lower the opponent's accuracy. And this could cause Roar or Whirlwind to miss, because while they will bypass a substitute, both of them, they do not bypass accuracy checks. So Sand Attack used once turns a 100% accurate move into a 75% accurate move. So 1 out of 4 times Ninjask will dodge the Roar, and then it can stack the Sand Attack accuracy onto the opponent, and then Baton Pass to Marowak. If you fail to get your Roar off, then Marowak is like so dangerous at that point. So Skarmory has the ability Keen Eye, which keeps it from having its accuracy lowered. So you would think that Skarmory would be a very safe answer to Ninjask, but the problem is a lot of Ninjask pass teams will pass. If Skarmory comes in, they will pass to Magneton. Magneton will eliminate the Skarmory, and then you no longer have your Roar user to use against Ninjask. So that's really bad. And there is no place in heaven for people who use Sand Attack on Ninjask. This is one of the things in the tier that people will say like is the thing that's keeping Gen 3 from being like perfect. Granted, I mean, there's still Rock Slide Flinch, there's still double damage critical hits. So like it will never be perfect, but I do agree that this is one of the things that maybe could be banned that would improve the health of the metagame. Sand Attack Ninjask has no skill associated with it. I think non-Sand Attack Ninjask has a little bit of skill. There's definitely an argument to be made for positioning the Ninjask well so that you can get your Baton Pass off to something good on your team. But no, Sand Attack Ninjask is absolutely zero skill. You're just banking on your opponent missing an attack. And I think that Sand Attack should be banned. I think that policy will stop us from being able to ban one move for some reason. And if it comes in the form of banning Ninjask as a whole, I do not think I would not lose a wink of sleep over that. So that's my 2 cents on Ninjask. Please do not ask me to make a Ninjask video. I just won't. Well, maybe I will, like, far into the future, but not soon. And yeah, that's what I have to say. Oh yeah, and I want to note that I've never used Ninjask on Gen 3. I don't even know what its back sprite looks like, frankly. And I'm not going to start using it now. Here are the standard Marowak sets. So they're essentially coming from the same angle where they want that Edgequake coverage. Edgequake referring to a ground type move and a rock type move. So Swords Dance will run Swords Dance, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and then one of Focus Punch and Double Edge. Yes, Bone Meringue is there, and it would suggest that it is the first option that you would choose. However, most of the time, we don't like Bone Meringue for Marowak. The problem with Bone Meringue is it's 90% accurate, so it could just miss, and that would completely ruin Marowak's sweeping potential. That being said, Bone Meringue does have some use cases. It's 50 base power, but hits twice, so it essentially does the same damage as Earthquake. But the reason why you would want to split it that way is to abuse substitute users. So a Pokemon that has a substitute, you will break its substitute with the first hit of Bone Meringue, usually, I should say. And then you will hit it again with the second hit. I believe that how Boomerang works is if the first hit lands, then the second hit is guaranteed to land. So it's only 10% to miss, but you'll miss both. So that's kind of how it works. It could be usable, but I don't think there are very many Pokemon that run Substitute, especially not Pokemon that are grounded. But some examples you might see a Sub Punch Tyranitar. I believe Boatar uses Substitute if you're familiar with that set. Suicune sometimes uses Substitute, but these are, I mean, Tyranitar you would love to click Boomerang into. Suicune, I mean, you would have to have a Swords Dance boost, I think, to go for that. But like, I don't know what situation you're gonna find yourself in where you have enough damage on the Suicune that you're okay with going for Boomerang against a sub Suicune, and you're also not getting outsped and getting absolutely blown away with Surf or a Hydro Pump. So yeah, there may be some other options. There may be like substitute pass teams where this could be useful, but yeah, generally I don't like this. Oh, I guess maybe Jolteon, but Jolteon should just baton pass against Marowak. If you stay in with Jolteon, then you are asking to get killed. So yeah, I would not even recommend staying in with the Jolteon, so I don't know if Boomerang would even be helpful there. But in any case, the all-out attacker set is going to opt to not run max speed. Instead, it's going to run max attack and max HP. So same sort of idea. We have Boomerang, Earthquake, we have Rock Slide, and then Hidden Power Rock is a option here. So Hidden Power Rock, the ideal with it is that you have a 70 base power rock move with 100 accuracy versus a Rock Slide, which is 75 base power with 90 accuracy. We can sort of calculate an expected value. So when it comes to Hidden Power Rock, 70 base power times 100% accuracy, meaning 100 you're going to hit every time. Every turn that you use it, over the course of many turns, you're expecting to have basically a 70 base power move. Whereas for Rock Slide, 75 base power with 90 accuracy, you multiply by 0.9 or 90%. Over the course of many turns, it's as if it was a 67.5 base power move. So that's a little bit weaker than Rock Slide or Hidden Power Rock in the long term. The reason why you would maybe not want to use Hidden Power Rock, there are kind of three reasons. First reason is that you want to use a different Hidden Power. On this particular set, they're not suggesting that you use Hidden Power Bug, which is probably what I would use as the other hidden power for Marowak. But the other reason you might not want to use it is if you need it for a roll, like the extra damage of Rock Slide for a roll to kill a certain Pokemon, that will have to come up to you looking in the calculator to find that. I don't know if there is anything significant that matters for the damage reduction from Rock Slide to Hidden Power Rock. And because they're so close in base power, it may just be like a roll. Like maybe Rock Slide has a guaranteed kill on something and Hidden Power Rock only kills 60% of the time. So you have to make that evaluation yourself depending on what Marowak set you're building. And then the third reason why you would want Rock Slide over Hidden Power Rock is the flinch chance. Now, flinch really only matters if you're a fast Pokemon, so that's why they're kind of recommending Hidden Power Rock on this no speed investment Marowak. The only Pokemon that you're really going to outspeed are like Snorlax and like minus speed Regice and maybe Fortress. So there are very few Pokemon where that actually would matter. Now, granted, if you paralyze the opposing Pokemon, they're going to be at 1/4 of their speed, so you might still be able to get a Rock Slide flinch off on that. So that might be a consideration as well. But yeah, a lot of Pokemon that are really slow that could be running Rock Slide oftentimes are running Hidden Power Rock. You've seen that on a Dawn fan that I used in my Electabuzz video. You may see that on something like a Steelix. Both of these Pokemon get Rock Slide, but they prefer Hidden Power Rock for the same reason as I've just outlined here. Double Edge is quite nice on Marowak. I didn't explain it on the previous set, but I'll explain it now. You have the ability Rockhead, same ability as Aerodactyl, which makes it so that you do not take damage from recoil. So Double Edge is just a 120 base power move with no drawback, basically. So that's quite good, and it's really good as a mid-ground into a lot of things. Normal is not coverage that is particularly valuable because it doesn't hit anything for super effective, but it hits a lot of things for neutral, especially things that would otherwise resist the Edgequake combination, like Flygon and Claydol. This last one has Focus Punch and Sing. Sing is diabolical. That is evil. If you go for a Sing and you hit it, that's so nasty. I don't really have anything else to say about that, but yeah. So here's the sort of Marowak that I'm going to be using for this video. It's kind of a hybrid between the all-out attacker and the sword stance. I mean, I don't have sword stance. I just have this, some speed. So this is like BKC Whack, which is not because BKC made it, but because it has the same coverage, I believe, as BKC Tar, which is the 4 attacks Tyranitar. So for Earthquake, we are going to one-shot all of Metagross, Tyranitar, any Jirachi that is not running a bold nature, and a lot of physically frail Pokemon like your Jolteons and your Dugtrios and things like that. We're going to 2-hit KO Blissey, Fortress, Milotic, and some Swampert. Sometimes the defensive Swamperts have enough juice to not get 2-hit KO'd. Not that I'm saying that you should stay in and trade with all these Pokemon, particularly not Swampert, but you might be in a situation where you can, you can afford to do that, or these Pokemon might be at about 50% anyway, so you can go ahead and take your kill with Earthquake. Rock Slide is going to one-shot Arrow, Charizard, and Moltres. Well, duh. I mean, if you have a Rock-type move and you don't one-shot Charizard or Moltres, then you're kind of... you probably shouldn't be using that move. And we have Rolves to kill Salamence, Gyarados, and Zapdos. Now, I should note that that is assuming that you did not get intimidated by Salamence or Gyarados. Otherwise, you're pretty comfortably in the 2-hit KO range, which could be bad because Salamence and Gyarados have potential moves that could disrupt a Marowak sweep. Zapdos, yes, it usually has a hidden power that's super effective on us, but we should always live that. We don't even necessarily need the 40 HP EVs to do that, but that's something that's good to note, is that you will generally live a Zapdos HP Ice or HP Grass. Hidden Power Bug here is to OHKO most Celebi sets. Now, it's not super duper easy to get a Hidden Power Bug off on Celebi, especially ones that have Hidden Power Grass or Giga Drain, which is a lot of them. But if you know that it's not a very highly offensive Celebi, and your Marowak is very healthy, then you might be able to get off the Hidden Power Bug. If you can come in on Revenge on a paralyzed Celebi, you could do that as well. And sometimes Celebi is not running a Grass-type move, in which case, yes, go ahead and abuse that. You will 2-hit KO Claydol and Tyranitar. Tyranitar is not... Obviously, your best move to hit Tyranitar with is Earthquake, but... it's good to know that you can still 2-hit KO Tyranitar with Hidden Power Bug in case you need it for a mid-ground option. Focus Punch is here basically to one-shot all of Blissey, Snorlax, and Regice. It will also one-shot Tyranitar, but it's kind of same deal with Earthquake, is that it's better to just click Earthquake. This is good to know because all of these Pokemon, Blissey, Snorlax, and Regice, have moves that they might click into Marowak that are not necessarily attacking moves. Blissey might want to heal itself with Soft Boiled. Snorlax might want to click Curse. And Regice might want to click Thunder Wave, predicting the Marowak to switch out. Granted, I don't know how commonly somebody is going to bring Regice against a Marowak team, for one, and then for two, predict Marowak to switch out and go for the very strange Thunder Wave rather than just Ice Beaming it. But, I mean, could happen, I guess. I think in that case, you'd actually probably just want to Rock Slide with Marowak. That will do a very hefty amount of damage, possibly get the KO on Regice, depending on chip, I think. I actually don't know what the roll looks like for that. Let's get Marowak involved here in the calculator. Rock Slide does not generally kill Regice. It would have to be a really low HP investment Regice for you to even have a chance. So yeah, that explains all the moves. With the 40 HP, the biggest thing is that last bullet point. We will live unboosted Adamant Metagross Meteor Mash after 3 layers of spikes. It doesn't quite do 75 to us, and this is important because Marowak committing its item slot to Thick Club will not be getting leftovers recovery. So we're never going to be able to heal out of range of certain KOs. So we want to be able to live the hits as they come. Additionally, we have a 50-50 to live Milotic with its Surf, and we will always live a defensive Suicune Surf. I don't know if that particularly matters a whole lot because Marowak is not going to OHKO back with Earthquake on either of them unless it gets a crit. So that's kind of just incidental, but maybe it comes up for you if you're using this Marowak set. I don't know. You might be like last 2 Mons and you need Marowak to get the chip on Milotic, so now you have a 50-50 to win the game here. So could happen. The speed that we're running here, we're going to outspeed 8-speed Skarmory and Metagross. So speed creeping the Skarmory and Metagross that would otherwise be speed creeping the standard Skarm. It's kind of, I don't know how consequential that is going to be, but it's also going to help us out against some really slow Pokemon, like a very slow Swampert or Blissey in particular is the really big one. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. I want to note that HP Bug, we had a few different choices for HP Bug. I chose the one that lowers speed rather than the one that lowers attack because we can EV ourselves back to where we want our speed benchmark to go. But we can't necessarily, if we lower our attack and we want max attack, we can't get that back. So I'd rather have the max attack and then achieve the benchmarks that I need to with my bulk and my speed. So yeah, that was important. If you choose the wrong HP Bug, it's not like it's going to completely make this Marowak fall apart, but note that like I did choose this one on purpose. So the team structure I have here, I call it Yama Mac. I don't know why I call it Yama Mac because probably should be calling it Yama Whack. With triple Nat Cure. So as you notice, Celebi, Starmie, and Blissey all have natural cure. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I didn't pick it because I wanted 3 Pokemon with Natural Cure per se, but it is nice to have more than one so you can switch back and forth against a Pokemon that is spamming T-Wave or Spore or Sleep Powder or something. Lead Hariyama nails a knockoff on whatever is on the team, and then Jirachi and Starmie can spread Paralysis. For this particular team, I have switched around a lot of the sets as I've played, and you might see that in some of the replays here. But the idea is that I like having Wish support with Jirachi, and I have Wish Calm Mind Jirachi, which is going to be running Thunder and Ice Punch, which intersects the bulk and the paralysis and the Wish support that I would like for both Hariyama and Marowak. Can't always pass a Wish to Marowak because it doesn't have a lot of longevity because it doesn't have the leftovers. But sometimes it takes one hit, and then it can live a certain physical hit coming in, especially against a less powerful Pokemon like a Claydol or maybe like a bulky Tyranitar that has not set up yet. Then there's Calm Mind Blissey here to act as the sort of win condition for the team. Calm Mind Jirachi also can be a win con as well, but it kind of has to take a lot of physical hits, so I don't know if it generally is going to get there, and plus having to land a Thunder is not always the best. Then we have Celebi with a lot more bulk than the typical Leech 3 attack set, because this is a Leech 3 attack Celebi, but I have 270 speed, which is a little bit less than the standard Leech 3 attack Celebi. And then we have kind of similar bulk to Utility Celebi, which means that we have very little in the way of our special attack stats, so we're not nearly as threatening as many of the other Leech 3 attack Celebis, but I think that this is fine because I have so many bulky pivots that I want to slow the game down a little bit, and if I can have a Celebi set that slows the game down a little bit, then I can. Originally, I had a Utility Celebi, which with the Recover and Leech Seed, but this team was struggling mightily against opposing Celebi, so I had to switch it for that reason. This team is still not fantastic into opposing Celebi, but it has a little bit more counterplay than it used to, so that's good. All 6 of these can run slightly different sets. If you want to use this 6, but you want to change up the Hariyama to have Focus Punch, or if you want to change the Jirachi to be Defensive Jirachi, and basically etc, then you certainly can, and I think that it can still work pretty well if you change things around, and it might even work better than what I came up with. But yeah, last thing I want to note is that this team that I made was inspired pretty heavily by the Hariyama Marowak Spin Me team by Star, which is one of the standard teams that you can find on the Ruin of Alph text channel, I guess is what you would call it, on Pokemon Showdown. So yeah, this is what that team looks like. You'll see I definitely I stole the Starmie spread, and the Hariyama set is very similar. I think I have a little less speed on my particular Hariyama, but yeah, this is basically what I did. I didn't like Wish Salamence for it, to be honest, so that's why we have a Blissey instead. And that is basically gonna do it for this part of the video. I'll see you guys next time for the battles. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I will definitely be doing that. Ooh, my Nidoqueen. Hold on. Let me change that real quick. All right, now we have the right thing for our featured Pokemon set there. That was a little awkward, but it proves that I know how to edit a little bit, I guess. You didn't miss anything. Um, this music that I have here is the Marowak Dojo music from Pokemon Explorers of Sky. Um, Marowak is kind of funny in that game. I think that his dialogue is it gets a chuckle out of me. But one thing that's kind of cool to note is that this is a remix of the Makuhita Dojo theme from Pokemon Blue and Red Rescue Team. So we're still like in our Gen 3 roots here. So that's pretty cool. Um, in any case, let's get into the battles here. So I'm up against Don Tito with a Gentleman there. That's pretty cool. I get psychicked with a Jirachi, and I just knock it off. I was kind of expecting this to be a choice band Jirachi lead, so thought I was a little safer with my Hariyama than I actually was, but thankfully I'm running enough Spadef to just live the psychic, so I'll actually get out of there. Now I assume that this is a Super Rachi with Psi-Fire coverage. Super Rachi, of course, is the one with max special attack, max speed, Calm Mind. I go to my own Jirachi and land the Thunder, get the Para, which is really nice. Probably a little bit riskier than it should have been, but now that lets me go to Blissey and I can threaten to counter sweep with Calm Mind. Metagross comes in and clicks Agility. As I go to Hariyama, I'll just sack the Hariyama at this point. Not much I can do to get it back in the game. But Marowak can come in, it will live an Earthquake and kill back with my own Earthquake, which is really nice. That's basically the ideal with Marowak. I think my opponent probably should have blown up if he had it with the Metagross, or switched to Salamence, but they didn't, so Marowak gets its featured Mon KO that it so desperately needed. My opponent will opt to paralyze my Blissey, as I will switch back out to Celebi on Salamence, come back to Blissey, whose Ice Beam should KO Salamence, and who will live a +1 Brick Break if it even has that. Tyranitar gets frozen, its Lumberry goes off, and I can go to Starmie, who should live an HP Bug, but I get crit! That's really unfortunate. I go to Marowak, who might, maybe, potentially have a role to survive Earthquake if this is a bulky DD T-Tar, but kind of doubtful because it's a Lumberry and it just straight up dies. And now game's basically lost. I will take an HP Bug and die, except I don't die because I'm very bulky Celebi. That gives me Giga Drain damage. I'm still dead though. Blissey will come in. Should live a Rock Slide. As long as I don't get flinched, I maybe have an out here. Don't get the freeze. And I dodge the Rock Slide. Yes. Okay. So Blissey with 34% HP is going to die to Hidden Power Flying from Salamence. I will just switch to Jirachi here. I get that right, which is really nice. I should die to Earthquake, though. But my opponent doesn't go for Earthquake. So I get my Ice Punch off. I don't freeze. I don't quite put him in range of dead to Sandstorm. But my opponent doesn't have an item. What are you doing? You don't have an item? So now that lets me heal up my Blissey. And I'm Calm Mind Blissey, so I do have a way to win this game. If this Jirachi should not beat my Blissey, especially because it's knocked off and paralyzed. And the last is Gengar, who could explode on me. Doesn't go for it. It does get that chip with Thunderbolt now. Explosion's a better roll. Still doesn't go for it. I'm paralyzed again. Alright, Explosion should be killing here. And my opponent doesn't go for it again. Now I soft-boiled up. I will live Explosion. And yeah, I don't think my opponent has Explosion on Gengar, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go for fast mode here. I don't know what this Gengar is even hoping to accomplish here. I mean, even if it gets a crit, I will pretty easily live that. You're gonna have to get 2 in a row. This is definitely the music for this, you know? Makes you want to fall asleep. Kind of makes me want to fall asleep when I'm playing Marowak Dojo in Pokemon's Sky. But I finally get up to +6 and then kill the Gengar in one shot with Thunderbolt. Now Jirachi is in, setting up its own Calm Minds. Probably should have done this earlier because I've so heavily outpaced it that I'm just gonna 2-hit KO it. And my opponent doesn't even try to get a crit Psychic or anything off on me. Now they will go to Blissey, who has Seismic Toss. And basically my out, because I don't have a move that will 2-hit KO opposing Blissey, is to get a crit or a freeze with Ice Beam. Now granted, I have 10 Ice Beams, so the chances that I get a crit or a freeze is pretty high. I mean, even if I don't get the freeze, I still have 21 Thunderbolts, and I just need to crit, like, pretty much once. Maybe twice. But I will probably run this out of soft-boiled as well, given how many moves I have. So, I should win this. My opponent has not revealed what their 4th move is. It might be Wish. Wish could be a little bit of a problem if I never ever get any hacks to go my way. And my opponent decides that they're going to go for Seismic Toss and say, yeah, I want to lose this game, but they get a full para there, and then they decide, nah, I want to win this game. So I really don't know what my opponent's thought process is here. This Salamence, please take the Lumberry off the Salamence. What are you doing, man? If you had leftovers on your Salamence, you would have won this game. If you had, if you didn't click HP Flying on the most obvious switch to Jirachi, you would have won this game. But also, if you didn't get that crit on my Starmie, I would have paralyzed your already Lumberry-eaten Tyranitar, and then Marowak could have come in and fiended for another kill. But I digress. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have won that game. I mean, well, no, but my opponent shouldn't have won that game either, so somebody had to win. And I guess it was me. So here we go, on to the next game. FDC 1. I play this guy on the ladder occasionally, and he always has some cheesy something on his team. And it's lead Alakazam. I cannot stand with Horiyama. Psychic is going to be doing too much, so I go to Celebi, and I assume that this is going to be a trick pass Alakazam with Choice Band. So I just stay in and click Leech Seed, but in fact it's Ice Punch. I do heal out of Ice Punch range, but I'm going to switch to Jirachi, who should more comfortably handle this Alakazam. It reveals Encore and Calm Mind. I will Calm Mind up with it, but I'm going to switch to not get Encored there. Blissey should take any move pretty safely here. I go for Ice Beam. I get a freeze. It's Lumberry, which is interesting. Lumberry on a synchronized Pokemon. Although I guess this could maybe be Inner Focus. I don't know. In any case, it kind of works out. Now I'll go to Jirachi, who will take the least amount of damage from Psychic and heal out of range of Dugtrio Earthquake because I'm almost max defense, and I get a crit Ice Punch, which probably mattered. So that's really fortunate for me. I go for Thunder on Ludicolo, who eats a Lumberry, and it Rain Dances, which is maybe not good for my opponent because I have a 100% accurate Thunder at that point. They will switch to Snorlax, though, who's a cursed Snorlax. I go to Celebi, who can get a Leech Seed off on this. Doesn't quite die to return because I have so much defensive investment. And I just opt to go for Psychic to get some chip damage off on the Snorlax. Hariyama can come in now, who should live pretty much any hit. and then threaten to do a lot of damage with Brick Break, but I go for Knock Off instead. Would have been good into the Snorlax to get rid of its leftovers, and it will eventually just die. But it also gets this Jirachi, which is really nice. Jirachi goes for Calm Mind. I'll go to Starmie and Thunderwave it. And I take a Thunderbolt for my troubles. It's not great. But I will just Surf because if my Starmie dies, I have a pretty free switch to Marowak here. And Starmie is really not good into Ludicolo and also not really that good into Snorlax, so that's fine. My opponent plays pretty well to get the Calm Mind off, but Earthquake is going to absolutely kill the Jirachi. It does not matter. Thunderbolt Jirachi is usually not a bold one. That kind of comes down to the standard sets that you expect to see, but yeah, I was pretty confident that it wasn't bold and I was going to get the kill there. And even if it wasn't, I kind of needed that damage for something to finish it off later. My opponent is going to try to Calm Mind all the way up with Suicune to win the game. I knocked off the leftovers, which means that Blissey is going to be a pretty safe bet to beat the Suicune. On this sort of team, I would expect to see like a Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep Talk Suicune. That kind of fits the pace of this better. Roar is a little bit slower paced than what I would expect. Roar possibly could have gotten out against this because Blissey can just Calm Mind up with the Suicune. As long as I don't get crit while Suicune has really, really high boosts, I should just win with my Blissey, especially because this Suicune does not have leftovers anymore. So generally I felt like I was going to win the game even without this crit from Thunderbolt, but that crit definitely helped. It puts the Suicune at 1%. If my opponent, I'm assuming that because my opponent forfeited, they didn't even have Rest. Otherwise, I feel like they would have like maybe gone for it and hoped that they could win. But yeah, if they were like a substitute Suicune, they were completely screwed here. And yeah, Yama and Marowak definitely could have handled the Snorlax. Ludicolo can't really do much to the Blissey. Even if it Leech Seeds, I have outs to go to Jirachi and maybe threaten a 100% accurate Thunder onto the Ludicolo. But yeah, no, generally I was well positioned to win this game here. So yeah, that's it. This guy, again, always running something cheesy. It's kind of cool to run some cheesy stuff from every now and then. I mean, my channel's kind of built on cheesy stuff, as you see with this Marowak. So I don't hate it. I respect the hustle. Let's go on to the next game here. Lead Zapdos versus Hariyama. I always click Rock Slide here. And I miss as he goes for Substitute. That really sucks. So predicting my opponent to want a Baton Pass, I'll go for Brick Break. But my opponent doesn't even Baton Pass. That sucks. They go for T-Bolt onto my Celebi. And Baton Pass out to Dugtrio. I go for Psychic to break the Substitute. And this Dugtrio is looking kind of threatening, except I have a lot of HP and defense investment and HP grass on this particular Celebi. So if you'll notice, I have some slightly different sets. I spent a long time again testing this team, and I had some slightly different things here. So this is actually utility Celebi. I believe this is actually defensive Jirachi with Body Slam. Yes, it is. So that's kind of interesting. We're going to see what I was talking about with this Celebi being really, really nasty for my whole team here. But I can get Marowak in, who is faster than a paralyzed Celebi, but I catch my opponent switching to Zapdos, who will go for HP Grass or Ice or something, and I don't miss the second Rock Slide, so Corcor or Corpcore, I don't know how you say your name. You're not getting me the second time. Misses a Leech Seed as I go for another Body Slam. I do have to be a little careful because my Marowak is really low. It's going to die to any hit that the opposing Celebi goes for. It could have been dangerous if the opposing Celebi went for a HP Grass or Giga Drain. I think it is already revealed to be HP Fire. It's the Leech 3 attack Celebi. But because I have Recover, that's pretty safe click there for my Celebi. I'll get a Leech Seed off on this Jirachi, who is Calm Mind. I'll go to Starmie, who should wall Fire and get a Thunder Wave off. I go for a lot of Thunder Waves against this Celebi because I think it helps me to get some of my other Pokemon in. I don't have to just sit in with Celebi the entire time against this Celebi. I knock off the leftovers on Celebi, which is huge because that means that my Celebi can maybe win the game here. I go to Marowak and I go for Earthquake, predicting Jirachi to want to come in, but I catch a Suicune instead, which is also pretty good. If this is a rest Suicune, particularly one that doesn't have Sleep Talk, then Marowak is threatening to come in and beat it. As long as I come in on the turn that it clicks rest. Now I can just spam Psychic against that Celebi. Recover as long as I don't die to HP Fire, and then if I get any Spadef drops, then I should beat the Celebi down. Its only healing is Leech Seed, so my Celebi should be very safe into it. If it gets a crit with HP Fire, I could be in trouble, and that's why I opt to switch to Blissey here. Also, Ice Beam should outpace the healing that the Celebi gets from Leech Seed, but I'm not going to try to let anything come in on my Blissey to win the game there. So instead, I will go to Celebi, I catch Swampert, HP Grass as the Jirachi comes in. I'll Leech Seed the Jirachi so that it can't exactly win against my team. It's going to Calm Mind up on my Blissey here, and I believe this Blissey is also not Calm Mind, so I Thunder Wave the Jirachi. It clicks Doom Desire, which is very strange. I can pass a Wish to Starmie, who should eat the Wish up here to undo all the Earthquake damage, and it should live a Doom Desire pretty well. Even though that was clicked on Blissey, I think I'm a bold Blissey on this variant. And you don't have Choice Band to boost the damage, so it's not really doing that much, all things considered. I can go for Leech Seed. I'm fine if Celebi comes in on opposing Celebi comes in on Leech Seed, because I should just beat this down. I get the Spadef drop, so this Celebi is guaranteed dead if I want to kill it, but I instead go for Recover here to try to keep my Celebi healthy, and then I will go to Blissey to avoid getting critical hit. So now I go for Ice Beam, catches the Swampert. I have a relatively safe switch back to Celebi if I want it. I instead go to Starmie, and I will go for Surf because I feel like Surf should kill at that range. I get a critical hit. I don't know if it mattered. I don't think so. And then my opponent decides to forfeit because Celebi basically 1v3s the rest of his team. And even if Suicune gets out of hand, any good switch to Marowak could basically ruin this whole team here. I could even sack something against Jirachi, get in Marowak, and there's no good switch to Earthquake. Yeah, this is pretty solid. This is an example of a way to play this team with a little bit of a slower pace. Although there were so many teams that had an opposing Celebi that gave me so many issues that I decided I needed HP Fire on my Celebi. And then other things sort of led me to the Thunder Ice Punch Jirachi and the Calm Mind Blissey instead. But this is also a variant that could work for this team. And then last one here. Hariyama versus Tyranitar. This is what I love to see. I always click Brick Break with Hariyama because there's so many people that want to stay in with their Tyranitar. If I get a Brick Break off on Skarmory, that's fine, because Brick Break knockoff should put it in the 75% range, which is pretty nice for me. This happens to be a Drill Peck Skarm, who clicks Drill Peck on my my Starmie switching in. I almost always go for Thunder Wave on Skarmory with this defensive Starmie. Reason being is that Thunder Wave is nice to have on Skarmory, and it also hits Gengar. If Gengar's paralyzed, especially with this team, like I'm in the driver's seat. And with this version of the team, I have Psychic on Celebi. I believe I've always had Psychic on Celebi because even Utility Celebi likes to run it. In any case, I'll go for HP Fire to start beating down this Skarm, but that's kind of the rub with this particular Celebi set, is that it really does not do much damage. And I allow my opponent to get all 3 layers up, which maybe is a bad thing. Especially because my Starmie is pretty low. But I will go for Leech Seed on Blissey staying in. I don't know what my opponent was predicting me to switch to. Maybe Hariyama. But I do get Leech Seed off on Gengar, and more importantly, I get a turn to click Psychic, and I get the Salamence. I will click Psychic again to get it low, because I do not want to switch in with anything, really. And I'm fine to sack this Celebi, but because I have so much defensive investment, I actually live. So in comes Tyranitar, who I can get a Leech Seed off on. I was assuming that this was probably Pursuit Tar and might have been clicking it, and I maybe was right there, but I was kind of okay with this. I'll go for Surf here because I wanted to catch Gengar switching in, but the Tyranitar stays in and clicks Crunch and kills my Starmie. So now I'm in a bit of trouble because I let 3 layers of spikes go up. I go for Rock Slide because it should kill this Tyranitar after Leech Seed, and it will also catch Gengar or Skarmory switching in. My opponent goes to Skarm, opts to sack it to my Hariyama, which is fine because I traded for a lot of damage. Swampert is in. I can never get anything out of this Hariyama again other than just like a spike sack, so I'll go for Knockoff. Gets rid of the leftovers, which is really nice. And now Blissey might win this game. We'll see. It's a Focus Punch Swampert. Goes for Focus Punch as I Ice Beam, and I freeze it. So that is, I mean, that's really good for me. That could have been really bad because Focus Punch Swampert almost always has Earthquake to put the Blissey down low, but things worked out for me. This is all I can really say. My opponent is going to Wish with the Blissey. Pass it to Swampert. I go for Ice Punch, predicting the Swampert to want to just come in immediately, or maybe potentially the Gengar. But because of what my opponent did here with the Thunder Wave and all that, I think I'm just going to go for max boosts here. I go for a Thunder to try to paralyze the Blissey, which might steal turns from it. I'm going for Ice Punch, predicting the Swampert to want to come in. But I think really at this point I should just go for +6. Swampert does come in. When Swampert's in, I generally want to attack it, and I think that's what I did there. Because if it stays in, I want it to die. Because basically the only way that my opponent is going to beat this Jirachi is if Swampert thaws and Earthquakes my Jirachi out. But in any case, I can go for +6 here. It's kind of the game plan. I can Wish, and as long as I didn't get parried there, I was fine. If I did get parried there, I would have been in a lot of trouble. I'll go for Thunder here to try to get a Paralysis on Blissey, and I do get it. Finally full parried on my Jirachi, allowing the Blissey to get up to full. And now I can go for +6, I think. Yep. And now Ice Punch should just destroy the Swampert. It thaws out, though, and gets a Protect off, which it's good for the Swampert, but that was a little bit risky because I could have not got fully parried and then punched the Swampert and 2-hit KO'd it basically. But now that there's no frozen Pokemon, I can go for Ice Punch and potentially get a freeze on this Blissey. 20% chance to happen, so it's not bad odds. I just want to wish and make sure that my Jirachi stays pretty healthy here. I get fully paralyzed there on what could have been a nice Ice Punch into Swampert. Blissey's going to come back in. And yeah, I think the idea for this Blissey is it wants to PP stall me out of my moves. It never will. But yeah, I'm generally gonna win this game here. I just need the Blissey to get parried on a bad turn, get crit on a bad turn. A switch to Swampert on an Ice Punch. I do go for a lot of Ice Punches here, trying to get this Swampert out. But yeah, the Wish Soft-Boiled Blissey is going to be a little bit tough. Thunder is doing pretty good damage, though, so if I get my plays right and I get 2 Thunders in a row on Blissey, then I could be in a good spot. Granted, with Thunder's accuracy and para chance, this could be, like, it's a taller task than maybe should be asked of me, but I digress. I get a freeze on Blissey, finally, which means that now I can just go for Ice Punch. My opponent will switch to Swampert finally, and now I'm 2-hit KOing this guy. I believe that this Swampert does not have leftovers anymore. I go for Thunder, predicting Blissey to come in, and I get roared out. What the hell? What is this Swampert? That's such a strange Swampert set. What are you doing, Ban Protect? In any case, Blissey's gonna just sit in and be a fat piece of crap, so I say fuck it, and I'm gonna go to Marowak. Earthquake, because whatever, Gengar comes in, that's alright. I can go for Rock Slide, and I will kill offensive Gengar. And I also have Paraflinch chance on any other Gengar. I get it. I get the paralysis, so I can kill this Gengar off, and now Marowak just wins the game. Earthquake kills Swampert. Blissey can come in. I really don't give a fuck about what Blissey's going to do, especially because it has no move to hit me, and I Earthquake and just straight up kill it, that's crazy. But yeah, sorry for the language there, but that was such a dumb game, and my dumb Marowak came in and made it even more dumb. So, yeah, there's the power of Marowak there. Most of the time, you can hope to revenge kill with Marowak, or you can come in on a Pokemon that has no good move to hit it, like let's say a Jolteon going for a Thunderbolt or a Thunder Wave, and then get something really nasty off, like your 568 attack Rock Slide or potentially Earthquake. This team definitely is using Paralysis as the measure of speed control to help the Marowak. So thank you to Jirachi and Starmie for enabling that. If you want to do like a triple para, you could run Thunderwave on Blissey as well. If you would like to have double Wish support, you could run Wish on Blissey, and that is basically what I had on the previous set. And that's basically gonna do it. I will be doing another video with this team, of a kind of short one, because I managed to get into a game with Blues Energy, who is one of the best ADV players pretty much of all time. Has a lot of great tournament accolades, and also, I believe, still has the record for the highest ELO achieved on ADV. So we'll see how this team did against Blues Energy, excuse me. So if you're you stuck around and heard that, look forward to that coming soon.